What is going on, everybody? This is Josh back again with another video, and today I actually want to talk about Manifest. Now, if you haven't seen it, it's actually on season 2 already. Season 1 came out last year, and I mean, in my opinion, I would say the first episode is what got me hooked. You know, this plane ends up leaving from, I think it was like Jamaica. They end up getting like some type of turbulence, and then from there it's like they're gone for over 5 years, like 5.5 years. They come back and everybody on that plane hasn't even aged. They're still the same age that they were when they left the airport. So when they got on that plane, and nothing has changed for them, but 5.5 years have changed for everybody else in the world. So families have grown older, kids grown older. You have husbands and wives who thought their husbands were dead, so they remarried, or they ended up seeing other people. So it was a whole lot of stuff that was happening in season 1, and that's kind of what got me hooked on season 1 in the first couple of episodes, because I actually wanted to know what happened. Now, when I was watching this, it kind of gave me a little bit of that TV show that USA had a long time ago, the 4400, on how 4400 people disappeared and then they came back, but they're the same exact way, like nothing changed between them, but they came back with like powers or something like that. So Manifest, I would think it's something like that, but it's all done on a plane. There is a family there, like the Stone family. They end up having a kid who was a twin to his sister. So she's all grown up. She's already in her teenage years, and he's actually still young. So the brother is Cal and the sister is Olivia. So Cal, he's still a little kid. Olivia, she's already grown up. It turns out that she's actually dating, or likes, one of them two, that she actually dates or likes his best friend, who was his friend in elementary, but now he's already grown up. So, you know, there's not that type of connection anymore. So these people, they come back, and it seems like they have certain powers or they have certain callings. Now, they don't know what it means, but they try to decipher it, try to figure out what's actually going on. And, you know, every single episode is kind of like that. You end up finding out that people who are on that plane, they were abducted by like the government or a secret agent government, because they're basically trying to run tests on them. They're trying to use them as a weapon, supposedly a weapon, because they can try to predict the future or try to figure out what's actually going to happen. And Michaela, which is kind of like one of the main characters here, she ended up losing her fiance. Her fiance ended up dating her best friend, I think, and he got married to her. They ended up, I would say that they kind of got separated, the fiance and Michaela's best friend. They kind of got separated because Michaela came back in the picture, and it's like all those feelings were still there. So I mean, I would say that's kind of like the way season 1 is all about. But there is a lot of other things into it. You know, other passengers are disappearing. They're basically just trying to figure out what all these callings are. They find out that some of these callings, they actually save people or they help people. And they're actually also saving some of the passengers that were abducted. Now, that main kid, Cal, it looks like, in my opinion, he has like the most power out of anybody, because it seems like he knows how to control it somewhat. And he actually helps other people out. And there's this one guy, his name's Zeke, who he disappeared as well, but he wasn't on the plane in season 1. He disappeared, he went on a hike, and he was just gone for 5 years, same amount of time that they were also gone. Or maybe I got that wrong, but he was basically gone. So, you know, it has this whole thing going around, and you're just trying to figure out what's happening. So every single episode is about one passenger, how they can actually help that person, how they can actually figure out these callings. Then you get to the very end of season 1, and you have Michaela's ex-fiance, which is Jared. You have Zeke, and they're both fighting for each other, because it seems like they both have feelings for Michaela, and it seems like Michaela's leaning more on the side of Zeke. Like in this episode, season 2, episode 1, I kind of feel like she was actually leaning towards more him, like she was building something with him, some type of relationship. I think it's because of the fact of he knows what she is going through, and Jared just doesn't believe her because of this whole plane thing. So let's just start. So season 2, episode 1 actually picks up right where season 1 left off. Now, you had Jared and Zeke that were both fighting each other over a gun, and the gun ends up going off, and then it ends in a cliffhanger. Now, you end up thinking who got shot, because Michaela ends up coming into the mix. She like runs through the door, and you see Michaela, you see Jared, you see Zeke, and you're trying to figure out who all got shot. Now, when this actually ended, I actually thought that maybe Zeke got shot, because I thought maybe they were just going to kill him off. But once you end up watching season 2, if you haven't watched it, I'm going to drop a spoiler right now. So you end up finding out who actually got shot, and it was actually Michaela. Now, it's nothing threatening or anything like that. She gets shot in the stomach. They have to call the ambulance, and she ends up telling Zeke to run, because since technically he had the gun and they were fighting for it, Jared's a cop, Michaela's a cop, it's basically going to make it seem like they shot a cop, or Zeke shot a cop. So she knows he didn't mean to, so she tells him, you need to run. He ends up running. He goes into hiding throughout the whole episode until you get to like the very end. That's when you actually see him. But in the beginning of this one, it's kind of the same way that season 1 is. You end up having these 2 passengers that they're trying to find, and they end up going to their house. They're trying to investigate other passengers, trying to figure out what happened with other people. And in the mix of all of this just happening, you also have Grace, who's married to Ben, and she's actually pregnant, but she doesn't know if it belongs to Ben or if it belongs to Danny. Danny was this guy that she was seeing while Ben was supposedly dead for those 5 years. So she doesn't know who the father is, but they're trying to figure that out as they go. Michaela keeps on having flashbacks, and what's actually crazy is that she actually has flashbacks of herself on an airplane, and it's that same airplane that she was on. Now, you didn't see any of this in season 1. So when season 1 ended off, I was trying to actually understand, how are they going to talk more about this? Now, I understand season 1 was really good because you're trying to figure out all these passengers, what happened to all of them, and it kind of exposed all of that. But then it looks like season 2 is going to be mainly what happened inside the plane. So let's just get into more of that when we get to the very end of this video. So Michaela's able to see things, like she ends up having, I don't know if it's like dreams or flashbacks, but she ends up seeing herself in that airplane, and so is Cal. So everybody else is in that airplane, but nobody is aware of what's going on. Only Michaela is. Michaela saying, oh, we shouldn't be here. We've already gotten off this plane. What's going on? And Cal looks at her saying, you need to save the passengers. Now, what they mean by passengers is these 2 people in this episode. Now, these 2 people in this episode, it's a married couple. They end up coming back just like everybody else, but they don't understand what's going on. They hear voices in their head, and it's just constantly going and going and going, and they can't stop it because they don't understand it. So what they end up doing is they leave their kids with basically a babysitter. Now, that babysitter raised them for 5 years because they were on that plane, but it was just the husband and the wife. The husband and the wife were on that plane. Their kids were at their babysitter. So of course, the kids ended up growing up, and the husband and wife, they basically stayed the way they are. So they ended up calling that babysitter their mom. So Michaela and Ben, they're able to find this couple. They go through their house, and they see that they're also having visions. They're also having a lot of voices in their head, but they can't decipher what it means. So they think that they need to kill themselves. So Michaela and Ben end up thinking that they also got abducted because they're nowhere to be found. You know, they left their kids, and nobody's seen them since. There was a withdrawal from their bank for $87,000. So you start thinking, like, what's going on with this couple? And towards the very end, you actually find out what actually happened to them. So Michaela and Ben were able to find that couple, and they're actually on the edge of like a cliff. Like, you know, they're parked on the road, and they're about to drive off the cliff. They think that they keep on hearing noises because they have to kill their kids, and that's why they keep on hearing kids screaming in the background. But it actually turns out the reason why they keep on hearing these sounds is because they were supposed to save this car that actually fell through the cliff. And you actually end up seeing it as well. The car's down there, and there's kids there. You can hear them screaming, asking for help. So if it wasn't for Michaela and Ben to go actually find these people and actually stop them from them killing themselves, they would have never actually found that other car that got in a car accident and actually saved those people.
Saved their lives.
So they ended up helping those passengers, and they ended up like letting them know that there's people out there that are the exact same way that we are. We all end up hearing voices, and we all try to figure out what to do. And they're able to actually save their lives. You also end up finding out that one of the passengers that were on that plane, I think her name is like Sanvi or something like that. She's a doctor or a person who studies microbiology. I don't know. She has a robe, a doctor's robe. So she ends up going to therapy, and her therapist is actually the same lady who was abducting all the passengers and actually running tests. Now, I think she became a therapist to that person so she can actually find out what these passengers are going through, and that doctor is going to end up revealing everything that she ends up hearing, and I think it's going to bite her in the ass. So Ben ends up stepping out of his house. You end up seeing him. He's been seeing this van everywhere he goes. No matter what, this van is always there. He ends up going up to the van, and somebody from behind him just grabs him and throws him inside the van. Now, I had a couple of thoughts thinking. Now, when this was actually happening, I thought it was, you know, the public. Now, the public end up seeing the people in this airplane. Anybody who came out that was a passenger, they see him as a threat. So they mark their houses with red X's. They vandalize their stuff. So I thought it was maybe somebody from them who was starting to clear up the passengers, starting to kill them off little by little. And it actually gets a little bit further into that. It actually wasn't them. You also end up seeing Zeke. He actually ends up going into jail because he ended up turning himself in. He feels like that's something he needs to do for the calling or something like that. Like, it doesn't explain how these people got their powers, or I wouldn't even consider it powers. It's like their callings. It doesn't explain any of that in season 1. You end up going throughout the whole season trying to figure out what happened, and towards the very end you still don't know. So it turns out that Ben actually got kidnapped by, I think he was like an FBI agent or a CIA agent. They actually tried to kill him when all the passengers were abducted, and they were trying to save the passengers. There was like an explosion that happened in the building, and this CIA agent or FBI agent, wherever he is, he was there, and I actually thought he died because the whole thing blew up and supposedly he did die. Turns out he's actually alive. He's just plain dead. And I think he's doing that smart because he's able to play under the radar or hide under the radar and actually find what's going on. So we end up seeing like the very end of season 2, episode 1. And it kind of lets you see what this whole season is going to be about. Now, it is going to be a little bit different from season 1, but I think it's going to have some similarities. You're going to have to see episodes where they're trying to find these passengers and they're trying to help them, trying to help understand what's going on. But on top of that, you actually get to see what happens on the plane. Now, I thought that the plane, all it got was turbulence, and then that was it. They end up landing and they've been gone for 5 years. Now, this one, it actually shows that they have turbulence and they actually crash, and there's people who are dead. There's Michaela's still alive, and it looks like she's seeing things that she did not see in season 1. So I think that this whole season is going to be about what actually happened on that plane and what happened during that crash, because it looks like they actually crashed. So, I mean, I kind of feel like season 2 is going to be a little bit interesting. But season 1, towards the very end, to be honest, I started losing interest in it. It didn't become one of those TV shows that I was eager to watch. But I don't know, maybe season 2 might end up changing my mind because it does look a little bit good. So keep in tune to this channel. Let me know if you want me to continue to talk about this, and I'll review every single episode as much as I can. There is one TV show that I review every single time, or 2 of them actually. And that's 911, which is like my favorite TV show right now, and Mayans MC. Now, 911 is on a fall break or winter break. So they should be coming up in a couple days. Mayans won't come out until a couple months because they actually ended. So let me know if this is something you guys want me to talk about. Let me know in the comments, and I'll definitely review everything. But until then, don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to comment, and especially don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.